Good morning, everybody. So I made it back to Oklahoma. I woke up at like 2 in the morning. It's roughly 8 o'clock-ish right now. I made it. I am tired, to say the least, but I made it back, and I'm glad to be back. These long drives definitely give me a lot to think about. I'll say that. I'm not going to go too far into it. Maybe that'll be another video coming soon, but it's weird coming back, and especially being, by the tiny house and showing the tiny house again in the videos. I did that a couple videos back, but the drive up here is, several hours, 5-6 hours, depending on traffic and how you drive and all that. But just being able to think and reflect and, be by myself and, drive that early, I mean, it is just a fresh start to the day. Waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning and driving, not a lot on the mind until you really start waking up a little bit, but you kind of just start rolling with it and start thinking about things. And I'm really glad that I drove back early and had this time to think and not worry about traffic and all that. I think it was good for me. But what's not good for me is this canned Monster. But I needed something to drink, and clearly can't make coffee at 2 o'clock in the morning driving 6 hours. Can't do that. But yeah, it's great to be here, but it's not great to be here. It's definitely different within the last week. Everything's completely changed. Almost all the leaves are off the trees now, and everything is dead right now. It's definitely a different season. It's a different time of the year. The whole, I guess if you want to call it, vibe out here is completely different. This is what it looked like when I first moved here 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago. It's creeping up on 2 years. Clearly none of this was here, but it was just dead trees and leaves everywhere. And my first thought was, where are the copperheads? They're going to be everywhere. Luckily, I have that leaf blower. I can come through and kind of clean some of this up around the tiny house and the shed house. And so, luckily, I can clean that up. But, I mean, it's just a different, I don't know, it's a different time, different energy, if you want to call it that. It definitely, and I know this is weird, but maybe it'll make sense to some of you guys. It's weird how the seasons change and my perception changes of being out here. So during the summer and everything's green and you can go down the river and you can wear shorts and you can fish all the time and be comfortable. And then this time of the year rolls around and everything's dead. It's colder. You may have just heard that shot. People are out hunting. Everything, like leaves, just everything the way it is. It just feels more off-grid, if you want to call it that. It feels a little more, I don't know, like you're in the elements, like you're actually living it. I don't know how to explain it. It's very weird. It's definitely a different mindset for me. In the winter, you got to get the wood-burning stove going. You always got to be chopping wood. You definitely want to chop wood throughout the year to prepare, but you're always doing that type of work. You're almost always have a fire going. I'm sitting on the fire pit right now. I think last year I had a fire going almost 24 hours a day, and whether it was in the fire pit or in the micro tiny, and it's just what you got to do to stay warm, to cook, and all that stuff. So it definitely puts you in a different mindset, good and bad. Good because this is how I live, off grid, clearly I go see Danielle and I go down, to the Dallas area at Jared's house and stuff. But this is it. This is what I own. There's no power, there's no water, and during this time of year, you got to have the fire going, you got to have all that, and it's just a whole different ball game, different atmosphere. And I honestly don't think most of y'all that watch get that aspect of it. And it's not your fault, you just don't live it, so you don't think about it. But it's weird. If any of you have lived fully off grid, no power, no water, kind of out in the woods, I think you probably understand what I'm talking about. It's weird. And then that's the thing that kind of, I guess, people that want to say negative things, during the summer, they're like, oh, well, you're not really doing the off-grid thing. Or during the winter, they're like, oh, you're not doing this. It's just a different ballgame. It's a different atmosphere, different energy, different vibe. Like, all that stuff is just different. And I wish I could portray that in my videos. I just don't think you can portray that. I don't think you could truly explain to people. And the reason I'm trying to explain it right now is for anyone that watches these videos and wants to live off grid, or just living through me living off grid, because I know a lot of you do. I don't think it gets portrayed the way it is in reality, of the struggles and the hardships and the different seasons and how you feel and how it changes your perspective on things. It's different, and it's something that I've talked about before, and I've contemplated talking about this in a video fully, but people's mindsets are different for the videos. If it's cold outside, especially if it's snowing, when you think off grid and you watch a movie or you get on YouTube, you really think people are roughing it to the max. When there's snow everywhere, they're chopping wood, they're harvesting animals, they can leave them hanging outside because it's cold. You're just doing all this stuff in the cold and out in the elements, and it's a lot tougher. That's where most people, not everyone, most people's minds go when you think about off-grid. And that's how I was before moving out here. I would always watch like Alaska Frontier and all that stuff, and I think that's why most people have this mindset during the summer. They're like, you're not really roughing it, you're not really off grid, you're not really doing this, because the mindset is a huge struggle. And I've actually had people comment that and was like, I liked you better when I saw you struggle, whether that was in my personal life or trying to keep fires going and stay warm and all that. They literally said, I don't like this easy life you're living, or that you're happy. They literally said that. I don't like that you're happy. I liked when you were miserable and, you were struggling. And I don't take that as like a bashing thing or a hater or anything like that. Don't get me wrong. They just like to see that. And I think the majority of people, whether they think it or not, that's what they like to see. They like to see the struggle of it and live through that. But yeah, just kind of seeing, everything like this again and all that. I mean, it kicked me back to the beginning of my journey out here. And I figured I'd just kind of put this out there, the reality and the truth of off-grid living. So if anyone out there is wanting to live this lifestyle, maybe it'll open your eyes to it a little more. I know a lot of people paint this picture on, especially YouTube, that it's not that hard, that it's super peachy, especially if you have like a family and kids, and they make it seem like this big, wonderful movie that's going on, the story. And that's not the reality of it. The reality is, if you want to live off-grid, no power, no water, really, really rough it off-grid like I have out here, which was my own choice. As my own choice, I'm not blaming anybody. It's hard work. And what I talked about was the truth and the perspective that I have and that you guys have that watch definitely changes as the seasons go. So, yeah, just figured I'd put that out there. But hope you guys have an awesome day. I'm tired. I've been up since 2 a.m. drove all day, still got to get some work done and all that. Hang out with my dogs back here. And, right, Sawyer? He said, heck yeah. Rufio's over here too. Boom. So, I'm going to go hang out with them. I'll catch you on the next. Peace.